Welcome to Philippines. Philippines is an archipelagic country in Southeast Asia, situated in the western Pacific Ocean. It consists of about 7,641 islands that are broadly categorized under three main geographical divisions from north to south: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The capital city of the Philippines is Manila, and the most populous city is Quezon City. Both within the urban area of Metro Manila, bounded by the South China Sea to the west, and the Philippine Sea to the east, and the Celebes Sea to the southwest, the Philippines shares maritime borders with Taiwan to the north, Japan to the northeast, Palau to the east, Indonesia to the south, and Brunei to the southwest, Vietnam to the west, and China to the northwest. The Philippines' position as an island country on the Pacific Ring of Fire and close to the equator makes the country prone to earthquakes and typhoons. The country has a variety of natural resources and globally significant level of biodiversity. The Philippines has an area of around 300,000 square kilometers with a population of around 109 million people. As of 2020, it is the 8th most populated country in the world, multiple ethnicity and cultures, and found throughout the islands. Negritos, some of the archipelago's earliest inhabitants, were followed by successive waves of Austronesian peoples. The arrival of Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese explorer leading a fleet for Spain, marked the beginning of Spanish colonization. In 1543, Spanish explorer Ruy López de Villalobos named the archipelago Las Islas Filipinas in honor of Philip II of Spain. Spanish settlement beginning in 1565 led to the Philippines becoming part of the Spanish Empire for more than 300 years. During this time, Catholicism became the dominant religion. Manila became the western hub of trans-Pacific trade. In 1896, the Philippine Revolution began, which then became entwined with the 1898 Spanish-American War. Spain ceded the territory to the United States, while Filipino rebels declared the First Philippine Republic. The ensuing Philippine-American War ended with the United States establishing control over the territory, which they maintained until the Japanese invasion of the islands during World War II. Following liberation, the Philippines became independent in 1946. Since then, the unitary sovereign state has often had a tumultuous experience with democracy, which included the overthrow of a dictatorship by the People Power Revolution. The Philippines is a founding member of the United Nations, World Trade Organization, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, and the East Asia Summit. The Philippines is considered to be an emerging market and a newly industrialized country, which has an economy transitioning from being based on agriculture to being based more on services and manufacturing. Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Rialonda, or commonly known as Jose Rizal, was a Filipino nationalist and polymath during the tail end of the Spanish colonial period of the Philippines. He is tagged as national hero or pambansang bayani of the Filipino people. An ophthalmologist by profession, Rizal became a writer and a key member of the Filipino propaganda movement, which advocated political reforms for the colony under Spain. He was executed by the Spanish colonial government for the crime of rebellion after the Philippine Revolution, inspired in part by his writings broke out. Though he was not actively involved in its planning or conduct, he ultimately approved of its goal, which eventually led to Philippine independence. He is widely considered one of the greatest heroes of the Philippines and has been recommended to be so honored by an officially impaneled National Heroes Committee. However, no law, executive order, or proclamation has been enacted or issued officially proclaiming any Filipino historical figure as a national hero. He was the author of the novel Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo and a number of poems and essays. Andres Bonifacio E. de Castro was a Filipino revolutionary leader and the President of the Tagalog Republic. He is often called the father of the Philippine Revolution. He is one of the founders and later Supremo or Supreme Leader of the Kataas-Taasan Kagalang-Galangang Katipunan ng mga Anak ng Bayan, or more commonly known as the Katipunan, a movement which sought the independence of the Philippines from Spanish colonial rule and started the Philippine Revolution. Emilio Aguinaldo Infante was a Filipino revolutionary politician and military leader who is officially recognized as the first and the youngest president of the Philippines, and the first president of Constitutional Republic in Asia. He led Philippine forces against Spain in the latter part of the Philippine Revolutionary last 1896 to 1898, then in the Spanish-American War 1898, and finally against the United States during the Philippine-American War last 1899 to 1901. Apolinario Mabini y Maranan was a Filipino revolutionary leader, educator, lawyer, and statesman who served first as a legal and constitutional advisor to the revolutionary government, and then as the first Prime Minister of the Philippines upon the establishment of the First Philippine Republic. He is regarded as the utak ng himagsikan or the brain of the revolution, and is also to be considered to be as the national hero in the Philippines, and he was able to persuade other heroes including Jose Rizal, the national hero of the Philippines. Mabini's work and thoughts on the government shaped the Philippines' fight for independence over the next century. Marcelo Hilario del Pilar y Gatmaytan, or commonly known as Marcelo H. del Pilar, was a Filipino writer, lawyer, journalist, and Freemason. Del Pilar, along with Jose Rizal and Garciano Lopez Haina, became known as the leaders of the reform movement in Spain. Del Pilar was born and brought up in Bulacan, Bulacan. He was suspended at the University of Santo Tomas and imprisoned in 1869 after he and the parish priest quarreled over exorbitant baptismal fees. In 1880s, he expanded his anti-friar movement from Malolos to Manila. After an order of banishment was issued against him. 12 months after his arrival in Barcelona, he succeeded Lopez Haina as editor of the La Solidaridad. Publication of the newspaper stopped in 1895 due to lack of funds. Muhammad Dipatuan Kudarat was the 7th Sultan of Maguindanao from 1619 to 1671. During his reign, he successfully fought off Spanish invasions and hindered the spread of Roman Catholicism in the island of Mindanao, much like the other Muslim rulers of the southern Philippine archipelago. He was direct descendant of Sharif Kabongsoan, a Malay Arab Johor noble who brought Islam to Mindanao between the 13th and 14th century. Municipality of Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao, where his descendants of datus and rulers are still the current political leaders. Juan Luna de San Pedro y Novicio Ancheta was a Filipino painter, sculptor, and a political activist of the Philippine Revolution during the late 19th century. He became one of the first recognized Philippine artists. Melchora Aquino de Ramos was a Filipina revolutionary who became known as Tandang Sora because of her age during the Philippine Revolution. She was known as the Grand Woman of the Revolution and the Mother of Balintawak for her contributions. Maria Josefa Gabriela Carino de Silang was a Filipino military leader best known for her role as a female leader of the Ilocano independence movement from the Spain. She took over her second husband Diego Silang after his assassination in 1763, leading her people for 4 months before she was captured and executed by the colonial government of the Captaincy General of the Philippines.